live. I'm a script. Welcome to Beardcana, your favorite Lorcana podcast. Why? Because we have three beautiful bearded gentlemen for you to choose from. Sammy B, TCG, back up in this thing. I'm your host as always, and I'm going to be joined by Hal Brady and Jake, my lovely co-host. This week we're going to mainly talk about Continentals, which Jake and I attended, and Hal thankfully ran the card viewer for us all weekend. We're going to talk about Ed Chu's winning deck. We're going to talk about Jake's Sunday prize winning deck. Then we're going to get into set champs a little bit because we all want to win beautiful Scar promotional items. Then we'll, talk about a few other things we're interested in and send you out your way here at Beautiful Beardcana. But first, Hal Brady, how's your week? I know you have a new job.
Yeah, got settled into a new place in Austin. Thankfully, found a job pretty quick. Hanging out in a hotel overnight, making sure nothing catches on fire. But it's pretty easy. I'll probably be able to do a lot of Lorcana oriented things while I'm
Dope.
sitting there waiting on the sun to rise and I can go back home. But yeah, last weekend did the card viewer for the live stream for North American Continentals. I think this is the third or fourth time I've done that for the production team, and it's a lot of fun. Obviously, I miss out on going to the tournament, but while I'm not ready to like travel right now. It's a way to still participate. I get to watch every round. Um, it is like a little exhausting because I don't get any breaks or anything, so I'm basically just like sitting here doing the card viewer for like 12 hours straight. But I mean, it doesn't really feel like work. It's fun. I will say I learn very well all of the like sub names to all the cards because
Right.
like if I just type in Daisy, right, there's like 30 of them, but only like five of them in alphabetical order come down. So if it's not in those top five, it's not gonna work. So I have to search by like Donald's date, and then it'll come up immediately. And so yeah, I kind of like
Yeah.
zoned out day two on the stream because it was like some of the best Arcana I've ever seen played, and I was just fanboying like so many of like known players piloting their pet deck that they've been mastering over the last like year. I'm just kind of like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be doing something. I'm just like watching the match, holding on the
Yeah.
edge of my seat.
Yeah.
It was sick. Like Edmund's match versus RMB was just like a nail biter. That one was like heartbreaking for me because I'm like rooting for both players. I'm a big fan of both of them, and they're both on. I mean, I guess RMB is not on Blue Steel, but I mean still like Blurpo was kind of like the cool breakout deck of the tournament, so it was still fun to see that. It sucks he didn't qualify for Worlds, but I mean Ed still got to move on and win
Yeah.
the whole thing. So, but yeah, it was a great weekend. Yeah, still recovering.
Awesome. Jake, how was your week recovering from traveling to Continentals?
Man, I'm still exhausted. I didn't get out of bed till like 10 a.m. this morning. I just pretended like I was working. But yeah, no, first trip to California, probably the last trip to California. That place is just not for
Whoa.
me. I love you, Sam, but I don't think I'm going back. That place is not for me.
Even for Continentals again next year?
Maybe,
They'll probably
maybe,
just run it back at
maybe.
Disneyland, it seems like.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Life would have to be pretty different for me. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Traveling back was cool. Traveling there was crazy. Coming in with the wildfires. We whenever we landed on the runway, I know I told you this, Sam, but we had like chunks of ash falling down on this from the sky as we landed, which is pretty wild.
That
Um,
is pretty wild.
yeah,
Uh,
Continentals as a whole was really cool. The venue was awesome. The food, it was expensive, but I thought it tasted pretty good. I wish it was complimentary, but beggars can't be choosers. Also, that would be insane with how many people were there just to have that much free food.
yeah, a few thousand homies on
Yeah.
the house. I mean, they
Hey.
can afford it, but
Yeah.
I knew what you mean. I had fun at Continentals. I am currently living in Los Angeles, so I did not have to travel except for the 45-minute daily drive to Disneyland, which is not too bad. The $35 parking and then walk roughly 1,000 yards to the venue door was not my favorite, but whatever. Paid it 3 days in a row, so had fun at the venue. I thought they could have done better as far as side events go. Like it just wasn't, it didn't have that same energy that a challenge has of like collecting the tickets and thinking of what prize you can get, and oh, if I go play this one, I can maybe level up my prize, and then oh, it's I've had a good weekend, maybe I could give me a Cindy playmat. Everything was just booster packs, and they would any promo that you got mostly was given to you for signing up, which that's great, but I thought it led to not a lot of reasons to play side events. And so, like, the LCQ being the big reason why a lot of people were there to compete, actually, that the LCQ really being the largest, tournament of the weekend. And by, just the way that tournament's built, oh, in an hour we have 500 players. And they did a great job of, setting up two little side events for the early losers. But after that, you still have 1,000 players that want to play Lorcana that weekend, and so I think it would have been a lot better had they just done like the challenge prize wall type of setup. And but just give out the Baymax and Cusco promos here and there. Over the weekend, their price plummeted rapidly. I think they're probably at what Baymax I think is about $80 right now, and Cusco is 65, I want to say. So we'll see if those stabilize. We will see if those are going to be our challenge promos for 2025. Who thinks they will be? I'll say I. I. Just me? Okay.
I don't know. Like I hope I kind of hope not. Like I
I
want
hope
those
not.
to
I'm
be
with
more
you.
like exclusive. I feel like they'll just do something different.
Yeah.
At least I
Yeah,
hope so.
I hope so too, but I don't know. I mean, it very well could be that that's just what we have now. But like invited to the ball does seem very thematic for what it is and how you got it. Like it would make sense that it was only for the Continentals, but at the same time, I could also see Ravensburg going, we have them, might as well just do it for this coming season. Maybe they'll just use Cinderella and Rapunzel in perpetuity, but I don't know. I kind of hope we get a shakeup.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to do new promos. And maybe, I guess, I don't know why in my head they would be replacing the Cindy Rapunzel when they could just be joining them as well. And they could also just be down the ladder as far as tickets go too. So they might just find a home there where like, I couldn't get 80 for Cindy. I got 60. Okay, I'll get Baymax. That could be a way to go too. I think I would like that better than replacement. Yeah, because that's not very exciting. I'm not picking up any Cusco promos if I can help it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Continentals came and went. Neither Jake or I won our LCQ pod, and I actually chickened out of Blurple last day, Thursday actually. We were testing. This is why I don't like testing week of because it's just like what new information are you going to find out that's going to help you? I basically juked myself. We tested a lot of green purple, and I already thought it was like a pretty good choice against the meta, against red purple and red blue. I think it's pretty good. It'll of course struggle against any deck singing "Let the Storm Rage On." I think at this point, but we played it a good amount against Blurple, which was what I was on, and I did not like the matchup from the Blurple side, and I played it from the green purple side as well, and it felt basically free to me. It feels like you essentially cannot avoid getting go-goed for 3+ in the late game because you're just forced to trade because green purple gets ahead early on the lore, and they'll just continue to quest and let you trade into their stuff. And at points along the way, you're just going to have characters with damage on them, and therefore you die. And once I figured that out, I was like, man, green purple is probably a really good call because I did think blurple would be like a low key like 5%er because I had seen it popping up in some case tournaments, and in my testing it felt pretty good. And so I was like, oh man, if people figure out green purple is a really good call, I'm just, oh, I don't know about this weekend with blurple. And so I ended up shifting over to green purple myself, and it did show up in healthy doses, I would say. Jake also ran it as well.
Yeah, same 60, which is pretty wild. I don't think I've ever been to a card tournament with a friend and we ran the same 60,
Yeah,
but
especially with someone who never agrees with you.
yeah.
That is the magic of Jake and I's friendship. We're very close friends, and we do not agree on anything ever. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I mean, I ran the same deck the entire weekend. I was gonna play red blue Sunday, but you decided to borrow it the last second. So Jeremy
Yeah, we had
Bertariani
a
could
double
borrow
borrow.
Lurple. Yeah,
Yeah, Jeremy Bertariano was standing there going, "Oh God, if only there were some Blurple cards." And I was like, I have them right here. I've been wanting to jump off this deck and play anything else, so take these." And then I was like, "Jake, give me
yeah,
the red blue." So yeah,
yeah. So I played that deck the entire weekend, and it never felt like it wasn't the best deck in the room. Like you have some matchups that are just straight up, basically unwinnable, but those decks are so uncommon that it was a risk I was willing to take. And unfortunately, I came across one of those in the LCQ. But yeah,
yeah,
is what it is.
for sure. I'm gonna show the lovely viewers at home your list now. Basically, we got this list from Artabax himself off his YouTube. Was it his YouTube or
Now this is
what?
Medify.
It was Medify. I was pretty sure it was paid content. And we replaced a Bell Accomplished Mystic with the Emerald Chromacon you see dangling down there at the bottom. Essentially, we just thought about the meta and how many spots the Chromacon is good in right now, and we just felt like it was just always good. Really, that's how I felt. And I felt essentially for that card to be good, that's what I need it to do. Is just like on almost every board, I'm going to slam this, and it will be a nightmare for my opponent. And that was pretty much the case every time I drew it. What was your feel for the Chromacon?
Yeah, I didn't actually see it that much, but when I did see it, it had one of two effects. Either my opponent just ignored it and they just quested, and then I would break their board and take over the game, or they didn't understand the card, or its text put them at a point where they had no good decision. So they have to remove a merfolk, and it's like, okay, cool, I get to bounce a goat, or I get to bounce their Maui shark, or Tamatoa, whatever. Any of those plays, a Flynn Rider, even on roughly curve, is really good to get rid of. So you don't have to worry about lore triggers if you're on a super low to the ground, like Chernabogs and Diablos. But yeah, it was really good. Like it, and as you and I were talking about it, Sam, and testing, its value goes up exponentially in the late game. Like it is an impossible card for most decks to get out
Right.
from under in the late game because it threatens more goat bounces and stuff as well as disrupting their ability to end the game when it really matters.
Yeah. I felt we did something that I really look for in cards, and that's make close games, like it just breaks close games almost immediately, especially if you're the aggressor and it's like they're trying to catch up on lore and like make you pay attention to them. So like maybe they have a two quester you want to take out instead of questing. It's like, nah, Chromacon, quest everything. You are like you said earlier, Jake, left with no good decisions. Just all bad for you. There's no good challenges. Okay, bounce your other guy that wants to challenge, or bounce my goat. You die. That definitely happened a lot. So you got seventh place. It was out of what we said, 302
Yeah, something like
competitors.
that. Yeah,
And so would you have one game loss?
I lost one game. Yeah,
One game
no,
in a best of two five rounder. So highly
yeah.
impressive stuff there. No draws last round. He just showed up and just straight it. Beat down his opponent 2-0. Sign the virtual match slip if you don't mind. Um,
Yeah.
Funny story from my Sunday. It was my first time like ever piloting blue red, and I also had a single game loss in the Sunday 9 a.m. competitive. However, I got 30th place because one of my rounds I won 1-0, and so that would result in only 3 match points instead of 7. And typically in these spots, one of the players is going to concede because there's basically just being match points left on the table, and it will hurt your tiebreakers for those players. I was playing with, I think, a newer player. He didn't seem to know uh, I don't know, how do you say, he didn't know the dance. And there was a judge sitting right there, and I didn't feel like pressuring anybody or explaining anything that I was like, okay, whatever, take the draw. But other than that, the deck felt incredible and completely busted, and I was like, I cannot believe that I have not played it until this point. Essentially because I was like, you know what? I see blue red over there. I'm already like 3 months behind anyone that's been on blue red. So I don't really want to pick it up now and like play these miserable mirrors. I'll just like figure out a way to beat it. And with that, I played a lot of silly decks this season that should have just been me playing blue red Maui Shark. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's a card that I immediately knew how busted was, and I feel like we're still figuring that out. Just like, yeah, this card does everything. Once you play it, he just takes over the game.
Yeah,
I
well, I was looking at like the metagame and stuff going in to that weekend, and it was like most lists I saw were playing like like two Maui Sharks, maybe three, and then like all the top decks from the main event had four, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
it just shuts the game off. Like your opponent either has to be so far ahead on lore they can ignore it. If they're not, they just have to stop questing. It's just like so game altering. I was really impressed with it.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah, you just can't afford to quest into it.
yeah,
The end. Here he is.
yeah. It's
Seven
one of
five
those
faces.
things where you can like I played blue red quite a bit this past weekend, and I lost one game to it. And I had some matches where I would 2-0 them in literally 15 minutes. Like the entire two games are over that quickly. And they would stick like a Maui Shark, and I would sometimes be like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna quest out for everything. Even if you challenge in Pirate's Life, I don't care. Like I'm threatening way more on board. Or like let's we don't talk about Bruno. But most decks can't do that. Like this is a deck that I think has a very good Ruby Sapphire matchup, and most decks aren't able to go under it while also still having meaningful interaction at that point in the game.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons, green purple is such a great choice is your red blue matchup is very nice. Uh, and then your red purple matchup's not too bad, and your blurple matchup's good. So what else did you see on camera? You had a bird's eye view all weekend. Is there anything else that jumped out at you over the weekend that was surprising to see?
Honestly, not really. I mean, as far as like day one goes, it was all like fairly standard. There was like some like all character like kind of aggressive decks in the early rounds of day one, but they didn't really last. And then, I mean, yeah, it was a lot of just blue red. Not a lot of red purple. Is like a decent amount, I guess. A lot of the amber steel like Diggy Hole deck. And
Hmm.
then a few people on Blurple. I mean, two made the cut for day two. Um, I actually think one of the Blurple decks we had on camera day one was someone who had qualified the day before. They
With
won
blurple.
a with Blurple, yeah.
Awesome.
And then he like steamrolled the guy on camera day one. Um, so not I don't think it was one of the people that made day two, but yeah, I mean I don't know, I was really hoping there was gonna be some like crazy breakout like broken deck that the some of the pro teams kind of would have just sandbagged for this event, and maybe they're saving it for Worlds, or maybe it just doesn't exist, because I
Yeah,
guess Worlds will be a different format by then.
they'd have to be European at this point, right?
Yeah, so I don't know. I was really hoping maybe there'd be like some crazy combo deck like blue green or something, but I mean
Hmm.
it's not there. I mean I know people have tried and put the time in, and yeah, it's
We
just
did
not
hear
there.
word of blue green winning a pod, didn't we?
I
I
think
didn't hear
one
that.
did really well in a side event day
Okay.
two. I've seen some videos
Oh
behind
yeah, yeah,
that.
that sounds right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's right.
Um, and it doesn't look like anything like super crazy. It's just kind of it's like I think it's a Muses deck and like just some like hard to deal with characters. Like it's playing like the Scrooge, the 5/5, the Quest for
Hmm.
two for
Hmm.
four, and
Hmm.
like just kind of like blue green good stuff, but not nothing. They're not like going infinite or anything. So yeah, wasn't super shocked about any of the decks on camera throughout the weekend.
Yeah, I did want to take. I really feel like, we talk about brews and like what could show up, and I feel like Ed choose winning deck. I'm gonna put it up here on camera. I'm sure everyone's seen this. But I just want to go over like why I think this is so smart. And if you just like look at the deck, you're like, oh, I don't know what, you know. Oh, there's no genies. There's no Elsa. There's no Maui. These are all cards I'm used to seeing in this deck. Four Lady Tremaine. Oh, what's up with that? Four Library. Oh man. This deck really, like for last weekend's meta, it does a great job of avoiding the genie fight, which is like one of the most important things in any purple matchup, is like, oh, you play a genie first, and then my genie's not as good because then you play Elsa and you take mine out. Oh no, how do I get ahead in this battle? And he avoided that by just I'm just gonna not play the evasive stuff and I'm just gonna lean into four Lady Tremaine, four Be Prepared, and two Big Sisu. All of that deals with Genie and Elsa on board. And so this list is much more of a control deck in that sense. Like there's no Genie questing quickly. Uh, it's, four rabbit instead of, like a 3-3 split is a lot of things we're seeing because he's put the extra uninkables into sweepers. He's got six total sweepers and four total six drops, which is, one or two more than we'll see in red purple these days. And then what allows him to go heavy on that uninkables, investing most of them at 6, 7, and 8, is that he's got a dozen one drops. And so that allows him to fill out his early game. And then those are not going to lose value in the mid game because he has four copies of the library. And so he's going to be outdrawing everyone all the time. And I think the beauty of this list is to take an existing known shell. We know how powerful this is. We know all the cool stuff it does. And then shifting it for whatever purpose you want for a weekend. And so, I don't know if he said to himself, how do I avoid the genie battle? I don't even want to do that. I just want to sidestep that and just sweeper it away. Well, I don't know what his thought process was, but it landed him on this list that was wholly unique and looked like the perfect setup for this weekend.
Yeah, I've heard of him talk a little bit about the list, and his mindset was like, I want to beat Ruby Sapphire. Like I want to beat that matchup. I want to dominate the mirror match. I think his build has a very good like Diggy Hole Amber Steel matchup as well. Like some like super aggressive decks could give him a little bit of a trouble, but he still also has the option to shift into Big Sisu on like turn 6. He was like, I'm not expected to play against Diablo whatsoever, which I think is the only role that I think Fifth Spirit plays in Ruby Amethyst. I think Elsa's way better in Blurple, obviously, because you have the shift line, you can get it down a turn earlier. I've never liked Fifth Spirit in Ruby Amethyst, honestly. I just don't. I think it doesn't do enough. It's not going to win you the game. You don't need it as a removal spell because you already have Brawl, Be Prepared, either Medusa or Lady Tremaine, blah, blah, blah. I just don't. I just think it's a bad card in that deck overall. There's a lot of Diablos out there, sure. You can still run it. It's fine. But
Mhm.
you just don't need it. So his thing was, I want to beat Ruby Sapphire. And then he said he only played against it one time, like, throughout the entire tournament. And it might
Yeah.
have been the finals. He either played against it once, day one, and then in the finals, or just in the finals. Like, that was it.
Yeah. But
So,
I would expect his list to, also be heavily favored at the mirror because, again, he's just
yeah,
bigger
yeah,
control.
yeah.
And so, like, I
Yep.
love that. That's another amazing strategy is, I'm going to play red purple and build it to beat the mirror match. Like, if you can do a red blue, that's great too. And, we saw people experimenting with some stuff, but just to have that as like a goal you're trying to accomplish, that's a good thing to look for in deck building going forward.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to like tune myself to like think more like this too. Cause it's so hard. Like I like to build like wild and crazy things, and it's like look how like simple and genius this is. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel to
Exactly.
get spicy. Like his list is very spicy, but at the core of it, it's just a Ruby Amethyst control deck.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
there's nothing that
Like
Ruby M has not played before. There's
right,
nothing, yeah, it's just like,
yeah,
picking, like I said, like picking an angle and like taking that, and it is great, and yeah, his list makes a ton of sense. Elsa's not needed right now. Diablo's really what necessitated her in the format to begin with. He's pretty much on the down low right now. He's not to be seen. Obviously, we had a top 4 appearance from Diablo, but Zan Syed doing Zan Syed things. What do
right, yeah.
we were sitting. He was testing his. I guess it was his top 16 matchup against Blurple, and he's tested it. And I was like, I've played a lot of Blurple. You're fine. Like, it's a close matchup. I was like, well, you're Zan Syed, right? And he's like, yeah. I was like, then you're fine.
And
It'll
you're
be all
fine.
right. Yeah, it's fine. Um, so anything else to add about Continentals aside from it should be better next year?
The 2 hour delay was really rough, but I talked to a bunch of people with PPG, and it was just like it's melee and then some other stuff that was happening behind the scenes.
Yeah,
That just caused that. I mean, that was unfortunate, but it is new. It is very hard, I imagine, to try to navigate an event of that scale in that venue whenever you're still
first
super
time.
new. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
first time
yeah,
melee. I'm not a melee hater. Like I try not to shit on melee just because I think it's a great tool. It just does not work as well as we need it to most like as often as we need it to. And I think that yeah, there was basically what 2.5 hour delay else for LCQ pods on Friday, and so yeah, it was really rough, to wake up, even as a local, waking up at 6 o'clock to play a tournament, and round one not starting till 11:30, 11:45 maybe. That
yeah,
was rough, and I don't know, trying to run the whole thing as one tournament seemed like it made it way harder on them than just running 32 pods of, melee, So, I think they put too much faith in melee for it to run that smoothly. 32 pods inside also ate one tournament. Yeah, you put a lot of faith in it. Why did you do that? Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I think if they do better on the pricing next time, uh, venue was dope. It was 2 floors, which was unfortunate. But it was pretty obvious which room you needed to be in most of the time for me. But that was kind of because they didn't have awesome side events that I was running to play in all weekend.
Yeah, the only other like real complaint I have, and I kind of get it, is um, only having one wave of LCQ pods instead of what you got to do, where they had multiple opportunities. Like, oh hey,
Hmm.
you lost round one. You had a chance to later in the day go back and do it again. And I think part of that is again the venue being at the Disneyland Anaheim Resort Hotel, but also we had what a month and some change more time with the
Hmm.
metagame. I think that might be part of it too, and I don't know. That would be something I would like, just kind of keep things even across the board. Also in EU, if I'm not mistaken, they did have like a prize wall with tickets from side events to go and get stuff. But I don't know if they had the same thing because it was run by Fanfinity instead of PPG,
Right.
where basically just for signing up for a side event, you just got a promo. You just signed up
Yeah.
for the 9 a.m. competitive on Saturday or Sunday, and you got a Baymax.
Yes. Yeah, it looked like we were gonna have more side events that gave out the promos in the early. Yeah, I try not to compare it too much to the EU because, that's over there. And like, yeah, like your TO is going to be, different because it's on the other side of the planet. So I try not to look into it too much. For me, I'm like happy to see a big event happen there first and get meta information. But I can see wanting to play it on the fresh side too. Um, there any players that played both continentals? Was it DKP?
Yeah, there were quite a few. Dale Bolito,
Okay,
uh, Zan,
Zan.
DKP.
Well, Zan was trying to LCQ in Paris, was he
Oh, you
not?
mean yeah, you mean in the main event?
Actual call, yeah, actual main.
To my
Just
knowledge,
DKP?
it might have just been DKP. Maybe there was someone else I don't know, but to my knowledge, it was just DKP.
Yeah. I don't know if that's something that they want to balance around. Probably not. Like, oh, well, DKP could play both. We don't want to line them up on the same weekend. Yeah, going forward. Going forward, would you like to see Continentals be a larger tournament?
Um, I don't know. Like Continentals proper, I thought was pretty cool because like the only people who made it in were the 32 LCQ pod winners, which I think is totally fine. And then the remaining 125 because Chris Croy didn't show up.
Yeah, Cheats McGee.
The remaining players, you had to earn that by getting a high placing performance in one of the DLCs in the previous season. So I think that's cool. I do think it would be cool if there were other ways to qualify. Like you could expand the tournament if you want, but maybe add a way to like, oh, hey, I got X amount of points, and you get points from set champs and from locals. Because I know Pokemon does something like that,
Hmm.
where if you just crush local tournaments, you can get enough points to qualify for their very high-profile events. I think something like that would be really cool to implement.
Yeah, I agree. That would be sweet.
Just like another avenue to get there.
They'd have to like I don't know that we want like another like 700 people qualifying
Ooh.
Right,
that way,
I
but like
right.
figured out
how do
what they should have
you,
done.
you know,
Here's what they should have. LCQ Friday, and then just have a challenge also that weekend.
Sure.
They had the
That,
room. Anyway,
yeah, for sure.
they had the room. We'll leave it at that. But that, that's kind of, I think that's a good thing going forward, as I feel like all our problems are good ones to have. Like, we could have doubled the cap of this and still sold out. It's like, okay, well, that's good. We got room to grow. Um, Now we got to shift to everyone's favorite topic, though, just set champs. And we have, and I'll show again at home, for those at home who might have missed this news. Maybe my favorite art for promo and playmat coming up. As I right see, we have the Scar Heartless. Is it Heartless Hunter? Yeah, Heartless Hunter. Full art, knocking the hyena off the cliff, and the playmat looks so dope. Um, what are we rocking up the set champs with? I actually have one tomorrow.
no.
Yes, same. I'm playing probably Steel Fossa, unless I show up and someone needs to borrow something that lets me not play that deck, and then I'll just play like Emerald Amethyst, probably the same 60 I played in Anaheim. But I'm probably going to play Steel Fossa. I think that deck is really, really good.
Yeah, you were pretty close to playing it for LCQ. And
Yeah,
I also thought it was a good call. I was championing for it. Um, was there a matchup we played with it where we're like, maybe not. Did we play it some more
yeah,
against Red Blue?
yeah. Red Blue against better Blue players. I think the matchup's close. Even with like Blue, I still think it's
Yeah.
just close, and I don't want close matchups when the stakes are that high.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't want to be
yeah.
scared to play against the best deck, really.
The best deck and the most popular deck.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
that's a bad place to be.
Yeah, I feel like if your opponent ever like inks Brawl and plays a Chernobog and you're like, oh no, then you should just stay
Yeah,
home. Like, just stay home. Don't
yeah.
do this to
This is not your
yourself.
format.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
not your game, pal.
yeah. But I expect. I was actually looking at Melee because I'm going to do kind of the same run of stores I did last season, and
Mm.
there's way more people signed up. So I think the general consensus is pretty positive behind this promo and playmat as opposed to the Mirabelle.
Yeah, that's to be expected. And I that's one of the things, I've mentioned a lot in Lorcana is how much is balancing on the promos of like what they are, how much they're worth, blah blah blah. Is that yeah, last season was my first season of set champs and it was for Mirabelle swag, which nobody wanted. So yeah, they were all half size, and so a lot of the stores were expecting to have bigger turnouts and therefore offering bigger prizes. You show up, nobody there. And so I played in maybe four set champs last season where they're like, hey, about those prizes we advertised, might have to chop that in half a little bit just to break even on this tournament. So I'm hoping for a big turnout. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think, yeah, it's one of those, everybody's going to want it. It's just so cool. Um, And I'm not a Disney person, so like none of this stuff excites me, but like I think it's cool.
Yeah, this really goes to show that like the card doesn't even have to be playable. It just needs to be a cool art that everybody wants.
Yeah.
So
Playable's best to us as players. If it was a friends on the other side, I would be more excited, but like would the art be as cool? Probably not. Be hard. His scar's
Yeah,
pretty dope. Yeah, I'm gonna be rocking the Blurple tomorrow. Basically, I think 59 of 60 that I would have played in the LCQ had I not lost my confidence due to the green purple beatdowns. I just added a third rabbit, so we're at 12 uninkables. I've been on the McDuck banner since I figured out I need something to do red blue. So it's funny to kind of build a deck yourself. Like I started out this format playing Blurple. My first iteration had 12 locations, but that was just like a thing I was trying. Basically build a deck and then see it do well and be like, yeah, okay, this deck's doing well. And then, the two lists that top 16 Continentals were like a handful, just two or three cards away from what I was playing already. So that makes me feel good and gives, okay, yeah, this deck's pretty good. All right, we'll rock it. And I just love it. It's fun. And for me, I think that's a big part of the game and something I gotta remind myself is just like play the deck that you think is fun because that's gonna lead to success. See, I love ramping. I love playing fours on three and just having more ink than my opponent and doing all type of sail the sea plays late game and dropping else's. See, I'm pulling up with the Blurp Town. How Brady, we got to get you a deck.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm able, I don't think I have any to play in this weekend. I don't think it'll be next weekend, but yeah, I'm probably just gonna do Emerald Steel. I mean, any chance I have to play the Muses and Diablo, probably gonna do that. So
Yeah, so we're gonna get an old Zan Syed 60 card deck over to Hal Brady because we need all three of us repping the beautiful Scar mat. Yeah, I'm hype. I just want the Scar mat. I want it. Like this is the first time for me. I'm just like, yes, I want this thing. I must go win it. It used to be,
Yeah.
PTQs and things like this. Like, I'm trying to win this invite or you know, prize money. It's like I just want this cool play mat.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. Normally, I'm a sell your playmat, sell your promo kind of guy. I'd probably keep the playmat at least because I just think it
Yeah.
looks so cool.
I'll probably sell the playmat immediately. I'm a man
Sell
who's
it to
hard
me.
up in financial means. I haven't won any Lorcana tournaments recently, so all my money's dwindling away, living off Rapunzel money, it's hard life. I think, yeah, just like the day one, if I win one tomorrow, I'll probably have to sell it. Just the day one profit it's too easy
yep.
to um flip that bad boy. But I definitely want one to keep. And like I would love to have one to just forget I own. Just keep it in the plastic and put it in a tub somewhere and let that bad boy accrue some value over time.
I still got a Stitch playmat. I think it's the champion one. I had a runner up and a champion one, and the runner up one sold like crazy, but the champion
Yeah,
playmat people didn't
Yeah,
want. So I think I still
I
interesting.
got that one.
I don't remember how much I sold mine for, but I think it was like north of 120. And I know I sold my Stitch for close to 600, which is so crazy to think about. Like your set
Yeah,
champ promo fetching that much money.
Yeah.
Wild.
that first round of set champs were brutally cutthroat, but it was
Oh
man,
yeah,
it was so much fun. I think I won 3 promos and 2 playmats. It was a blast.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, Lorcana has a lot of high leverage matches. It's crazy. You're just like, we're just playing for $500 here of this Disney card game
yeah. Well, like
at
we were talking at the
random
LCQ,
tournament.
or we were talking at not the LCQ, but at Continentals. If you're your top 16 match, that's the most stressful match you could have. If you're not already qualified for Worlds, you have to win that to get into
Hmm.
Worlds, or go to Australia and hope to be in the top two there. I can't imagine that stress,
How
especially
brutal
if
is it
you.
to lose your top 16 match to someone who's already qualified for Worlds?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, they did bubble two people in,
Yeah.
like ninth and 10th place got bubbled in. But yeah, if you're just out round one, it's terrible,
Yeah, you don't want to get
dream
11th
crushing.
place. Unfortunately, also tomorrow after set champs, we have UFC 311. And we have two big fans and one medium fan of the Ultimate Fighting Championship in the room. So I don't know how, Brady, have you heard the news today in regards to UFC 311?
No, not to go to work like at 11 p.m., which is usually like right when the last fight starts. So
Yeah. I'll
Hmm.
send
I'll
you
try
the
to.
illegal streaming link.
Perfect.
Have ad blocker
But
up.
no, I didn't. What news?
So the main event was going to be Islam Makhachev versus Arman Sarukian, and Arman Sarukian hurt his back, and so he's pulled out. And now Hinato Moicano. Manny Moicano is going to
All
step
right.
in and probably get ruffle stomped.
Yeah, I was about to say GG Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
So
betting line exploded. It was like I think uh 900. And I looked a little bit ago just out of curiosity, and he's at like minus 1200 now. It's yeah. I mean, Mokano still has a like severed clavicle. I mean, you can just see it. It's
still,
not. Yeah, he said he's not going to get surgery. I don't know if it's true, but he said he's not going to get surgery until after he retires. Um, yeah, not me. Couldn't be me.
it
I
just
don't
looks
think.
painful. I don't know.
Yeah, unless he's got a puncher's chance like anyone, but I just don't think there's like a realistic shot. I'm rooting for him because it'd be awesome, but
Yeah. I love
yeah,
Manny Moicano. I'm rooting for him. The I think the bigger news is really that like Islam is going to get like a bye in his fifth title defense, which is going to be the record breaking for the lightweight division, which is probably the most historic division in the UFC. No, this will be five, right?
no,
If he gets it.
no, this is four.
Oh, if he gets it, it's four.
Yeah,
Okay, but it
because it
also
was
gives him a
Volk,
buy.
Dustin Poirier.
It also gives him a buy into uh, being tied with Anderson Silva if he gets another win. And so to me,
Yeah,
it's like, oh man, he's gonna like. There's like these two really big numbers coming up for him, and he's gonna get an easier fight than I thought. Arman was like a huge test, and maybe the only guy I could see potentially beating Islam.
yeah, but I mean, like, I don't think Moicano's undeserving. Um, Honestly, like he's ranked 10th, but he's at ranked 10th in the arguably most stacked division, super competitive. He's already beaten a lot of guys at the top, or guys at the top have big losses. Like Moicano has the longest win streak of anyone in the top 10,
Hmm.
obviously not named Islam. So, I mean, I think that's warranted. Like, if they just
Yeah,
said, hey, Renato Moicano is the backup fighter, he wasn't fighting Beneil, he was just the backup fighter, I wouldn't have been mad about it. I'm like, okay, that
right.
makes sense.
Yeah, and I think this he pretty much was in a title eliminator anyway. I think if he beats Beneil
Yeah,
in good fashion, he's going to be
for
probably
sure.
next up for the title. Assuming not some bigger names coming up, maybe from lower weights that want to fight for title, that kind of thing. But now, to me, it's just like, okay, we have Marab and Umar at bantamweight co-main title. I don't know if anybody's that excited about that fight.
I'm really excited for it, but
Okay.
I I genuinely think that the grappling is just going to be pretty moot, and I think the stand-up is not close. I think Umar is just light years ahead of Marab, and
Yeah.
I don't think Marab's going to really be able to get him down. If he does get him down, he's not going to do anything with it. Um,
Yeah, I think
so yeah,
Marab's key to success is an extremely boring fight, which like just have him. I'm winning the clinch against the cage. Look at me go. So yeah, that's boring. So for that, I'm saying the people's main event is now Yuri Prohaska and Jamal Hill because we all have the same horse in that race in Yuri Prohaska. Have you seen the meme Jamal Hill's fight shorts for UFC 311?
No.
They're
yeah,
hilarious. I find this meme here to share with the people. Uh, this guy's just been complaining about his last loss, so here's his fight shorts to have all his complaints. His custom fight shorts. I rewatched that fight yet again today. It was clean. He just got beat. He's just a baby. Classic
yeah.
Jamal Hill. Also, Yuri Prohaska shaved his beautiful ponytail for a cancer uh, battler, a current cancer battler, and she's going to be cage side. So I feel like all that being said, Jiri needs to knock him the fudge out, you know, and the new people's main
Uh,
event.
yeah, it's very
Yo, the
exciting.
sign is real simple, B.
All
It says
right. Well, that sound means our time is up. I want to thank everybody for checking out Beardcana again, episode 3 in the bank. This show is brought to you by Double Rainbow Mods, my tiny little TCG player shop. If you'll check out the link below, you can help me grow the shop and hit me up on the DMs if you want to sell me your cards. That's it for next time. Subscribe or else.